It's 3 in the morning, and you are the only person awake who can do this. In front of you is one screen, one field, one number waiting to be typed. Not ink, not paper, a number. And the second you press enter, money will exist that did not exist a breath ago. Not moved, not earned, created. You are the man who prints the money. And tonight, for the first time, you understand that the printing was never the hard part. Rewind. You imagined this job wrong. You pictured a vault, a roaring press, sheets of fresh notes on cotton and linen paper, watermarks held up to the light, serial numbers marching in perfect rows. That building is real, and you visited it once, but that press only replaces the notes that wear out. The real printing happens where you sit now, in a quiet room with cold coffee, because modern money isn't paper at all. It's a promise typed into an account, and the keyboard in front of you types promises for an entire nation. Here is how it actually works, and why it will own you. When the economy needs money, you don't run a machine. You buy something, usually your own government's bonds, and you pay for them with money you conjure by updating a number in a bank's reserve account. That's it. No gold moves, no truck arrives, a digit gets larger. The bank now has fresh reserves, it lends against them, and every loan it writes becomes someone else's deposit, which becomes another loan. One keystroke from you multiplies out through the whole system like a struck bell. You didn't print a note, you rang the bell, and the country heard money. The first time you do it, it feels like a magic trick you're not allowed to enjoy. A recession is biting, factories are slowing, people are frightened, the numbers on your wall of screens are all bleeding red, so you press the button. A modest amount, careful, responsible, and it works. Credit loosens, businesses breathe. A month later, the red turns green, and a finance minister thanks you on television. You saved them. You feel the warmth of it. But somewhere underneath, in the part of you that reads the deeper charts, you already know the truth. The money didn't come from nowhere. It never does. It came from everyone who is already holding the old money. You just haven't seen the bill yet. Let me show you the bill, because it has a face. In a town you'll never visit, a retired school teacher keeps her life in a savings account. Decades of small, disciplined deposits. She did everything right. She trusted the number. And every time you press your button, that number stays the same while the world around it quietly gets more expensive. You didn't take a coin from her. You did something cleaner. You made every coin she owns worth a sliver less. That's the secret they don't teach. Printing money isn't a gift to the many. It's a silent tax on the patient, paid to whoever gets the new money first. And who gets it first? The banks, the borrowers, the already close to the button, not her.
You tell yourself it's temporary. You tell yourself you'll drain it back later, that this is a bridge, not a habit. Then the next crisis comes, and it's bigger. A shock rips through the markets overnight. Panic. If you do nothing, banks fail and millions lose everything by Friday. So you don't do nothing. You press the button harder than you ever have. Not a trickle now, a flood. You call it by a gentle, technical name so no one panics. You're just supporting liquidity. The flood works. The panic stops. You are a hero again. And the number you conjured this time is so large that the old number, the one that scared you last year, looks like a rounding error. That's the trap closing, and you feel it close. Because each rescue makes the next crisis worse. Cheap money doesn't just calm fear, it feeds appetite. It pushes people to borrow more, gamble more, pay insane prices for houses and stocks because holding cash feels like slowly bleeding. You built that. A bubble is just your button inflating something. And a bubble only ever ends one way. So when it finally trembles, you already know what they'll beg you to do. Print. More. To save them from the mess the last printing made. Relief and disease arriving in the same envelope, in your handwriting. Then comes the night the word changes. For years you've said support, stimulus, accommodation. Tonight, in the reports only you read, a new word appears in the data. Inflation. Not the polite 2% kind. The prices of ordinary things, bread, fuel, rent, are climbing faster than wages, and they're accelerating. You understand instantly what's happening. The bell you kept ringing rang too many times. There's more money chasing the same goods, and money, like anything, is worth less when there's more of it. The school teacher notices before the economists do. Her grocery basket costs more this week than last, and she can't understand why. You could tell her. You won't. You reach for the one tool that stops it, and it's the exact opposite of everything you've done. To kill inflation, you have to make money scarce and expensive again, raise the price of borrowing until the fever breaks. But that's a controlled crash. Loans get dearer, weak companies die, people lose jobs, the very people you were trying to protect. There is a man in monetary history who did exactly this, jacked rates to brutal heights, took the hatred, caused a real recession on purpose, and strangled a decade of runaway prices. He's remembered now as the one who was brave enough to hurt people to stop worse pain. That's the seat you're in tonight. Every choice is a wound. You only pick which one.
But raising the price of money is easy to say and terrifying to do, because you are not the only one who wants the button pressed. A war has started somewhere. A government needs to be paid, soldiers fed, debts covered, and the honest ways, taxes, borrowing from savers, are too slow and too unpopular. So they come to you, and they don't ask. When a state can simply create the money it owes, the temptation is total, and the discipline is the only thing standing between a currency and the abyss. You are that discipline. One room, one person, holding back an entire angry government with the word no. And no has never made anyone a hero.
You know how this movie ends, when discipline loses, because it has ended that way before, in real cities, with real people. There was a country, a century ago, where the presses ran to pay the state's bills, and the money died so completely that a loaf of bread which once cost a couple of coins came to cost hundreds of billions. People burned banknotes for warmth because the paper was worth more as fuel than as money. They carried wages home in wheelbarrows, and the wheelbarrow got stolen, not the cash inside it. And it happened again, in living memory, in a nation that printed a single note worth 100 trillion of its own dollars, a note that couldn't buy a bus ticket. That is not a fable. That is the button, pressed by men who told themselves the same thing you told yourself. Temporary, necessary, just this once. And here is the part that should keep you awake. The collapse doesn't come from the amount of money. It comes from the moment people stop believing in it. Your entire power rests on one invisible thing: confidence. A banknote is just a piece of cotton with a promise on it, and a digit in an account is even less. They're worth something only because everyone agrees they are, and because everyone trusts you not to make too many. The day that trust cracks, people don't hold the money anymore. They spend it the instant it touches their hands, racing to swap it for anything real before it shrinks again. And money changing hands faster is itself inflation, accelerating on its own. So the fever feeds the fever. Prices rise, people spend quicker, prices rise again, and the government, terrified, begs you to print more just to keep up. You'd be pouring water into a bucket you already set on fire. That is the exact spiral that ended those dead currencies. Not greed, not one bad number, a loss of faith you were supposed to guard and pressed the button one time too many to keep. So now you sit at 3 a.m. with the field open and the cursor blinking, and the whole weight of it lands on you at once. Behind you, a government demanding you print to cover its debts. In front of you, an economy that will break if money gets scarce, and rot if money stays loose. Below you, in a town you'll never see, a school teacher checking a savings number that means less every single day, trusting that someone up here has protected it. And that someone is you, holding a power so quiet it doesn't even make a sound. No roar of a press, just a key and a click, and a nation that will feel it for a generation. You finally understand the job. You are not the man who prints the money. Any machine can print. You are the man who decides whose money quietly disappears and who gets to stand near the button when the new money is warm. Every number you type is a transfer nobody voted on, from the patient to the connected, from the saver to the spender, from her to them. The paper was never the power. The paper is theater. The power is that you can make a promise the entire world is forced to believe, right up until the morning they don't. You think about that loaf of bread from the dead currency, the one that ended up costing a wheelbarrow of paper. You think about the school teacher's jar of trust, and you realize the terror of this chair isn't that the button is hard to press, it's that it's so easy. It asks nothing of you. No effort, no sweat, no vault. Just a willingness to spend other people's faith and call it rescue. Somewhere out there, the finance minister is drafting tomorrow's emergency. The market's open in a few hours. The pressure is already building. The phone is already lighting up. And the case for pressing the button, one more time, a little bigger, for the best of reasons, is already being written in words that sound like mercy. You look at the cursor. You look at your own hands. You know exactly what it costs now. You know precisely whose life gets a little smaller when you press it. And the field is still open. And the number is still blank. And the world is still waiting for the man who prints the money to decide. You reach for the key.